Thank you for joining me this evening. I want to thank Barb Kleminski, the gardening guru, for asking me to present of my favorite subject, and also my longtime friend Maureen McDonald, who found me to ask me to present as well. So this is a pollinator power pack of information. It is more than telling you how to plant a butterfly garden. And I think you'll find it very fascinating, as I have for the past 3 years. So I'm Marilyn Trent, the founder of Rochester Pollinators, and this is Valerie Mullaney, who has a Master's of Science degree in Resource and Ecology Management. So she's my resident expert who's on the advisory board of the committee that I am the chairperson of. So how did I get here? People ask me, how did you get here? Well, in 2019, I got a letter from the Environmental Defense Fund, and it said that the monarch butterfly was in decline. Whoops, I'm moving. Can you still hear me? 90%. And you see that was what was left. So I was pretty sad. It was in January 2019, a cold winter day, and I thought, I need to do something about it. And it said I could. Without milkweed, I could plant milkweed and not use herbicides or pesticides, and that would help save the monarch. So I went to the city of Rochester, the powers that be, and I asked them, I said, why can't we just swap out some of these regular plants that they plant that don't have any nectar and aren't milkweeds, and then plant milkweeds and native plants on Main Street? Well, they said yes. And they started planting pollinator gardens as well. The city council and the Downtown Development Board of Authority is who I was speaking with. And then I found out that it was a lot more than planting milkweeds on Main Street. So what we'll learn today is how we're trying to encourage people to shift to an ecological horticulture in their own backyard. And what you're going to learn is, why do we need these pollinators, and our pollinators and the evolution of their relationships with the native plants, and how it's all interconnected between the insects, your birds, your soil health, and people. And then we learn about the entire life cycle that you're trying to attract to your, the things you're trying to attract to your yards all year round. It's a 4-season endeavor. And then we get into gardens plans and native gardening, and how you can also plant natives in container gardening as well. And then we talk about native and keystone trees. So we have a mission statement, and this is part of our mission statement, is education and teaching people what we have learned, and helping them create these pollinator paradises and havens in their own backyards. Basically, we want to get as many Michigan native plants, trees, and shrubs in the ground as much as we can, and we need your help. So who are we? Well, we are a group of passionate native pollinators, enthusiasts that like to have fun. This is us at the farmers market at the end of a rainy day. We're pretty happy about what we've accomplished. And I always point out my youngest volunteer, who brings his mom. That's how he puts it. I'm the volunteer. I bring my mom. He's 8 years old, and he helps give away milkweed plants. And he chases people down, and he says, hey, do you want to save the monarch butterfly? And no one's told him no yet. I closed the deal. So what happened was what I always say was very important, was I had found out, when I formed this group, I found out that the mayor had signed the Mayor's Monarch Pledge. And the Mayor's Monarch Pledge was created by the National Wildlife Federation, and it has 29 actions. So it's a blueprint for cities to save the monarch butterfly. And hundreds of mayors have signed it. It was a brilliant idea because it created basically a set of rules that I would never have figured out. So that is what we followed. I felt like I was getting Girl Scout badges when I was a Girl Scout. So I worked on these badges or these actions, and we so far have implemented 23 of these actions. We plant pollinator gardens. We planted about 6 We already had a prairie remnant in Rochester. We're a resource for anyone who wants to plant a garden. We do these speaker series. We manage and maintain a seed library at Dinosaur Hill, and we give away hundreds of milkweed plants, and we sell plants as well to raise funds. We are fully self-funding and self-sustaining. When I went to the city, I made sure I didn't ask for money. Don't do that. There's a way you can do this, and we're going to create a course on how you can do this and work with your cities if you want to. So like I said, up to 90% of the eastern monarch butterfly was in decline, but they are the canary in the mine because of their migratory path of 2,800 miles that they travel from Michigan to central Mexico and then back again. So that means that there has to be milkweed and native plants all along that path. And Valerie will explain that a little more in depth. So that means 40% of our pollinators, including the bees, are in decline because they're more regional, so we haven't lost quite as many. And 3 billion birds have disappeared in the last 50 years. I need to change that. So why do we need our pollinators? Well, we need them because 1/3 of our nation's food crops depend upon them. And 90% of all of our flowering trees do as well. And these are some of our favorite foods, and I always add chocolate. I know that we don't grow it up here, but you need pollinators all around the world. So many of these foods would disappear, and they did disappear because if you look at this young lady, she's in China, and she's in a region in China, and at the end of this that's a stick is a little duster, but it's a pollinator. And what happened in China was they did manage to kill all the bees in the fruit in this agricultural area where they were had fruit trees. So we don't want to do this. It is not efficient. It's not sustainable, and it just doesn't look like a very fun job. So the good news is there's still time, and we as individuals can help change this. Okay, so why are we losing our pollinators? Well, I kind of talked a little bit about it. Habitat loss. So 40 million acres of lawn has replaced our natural habitats. And with that, more pesticides as neonicotinoids is being used, and herbicides like Roundup is being used, and there's quite controversial till the point of where they were taken to court and had to stop selling it to residents in 2023. The pesticide neonicotinoids is deadly, and they're trying to ban it on public lands. And you can look it up. It's House Bill 4895. And there's no reason to be using this type of poison for decorative purposes. But it's a horrible, horrible pesticide. And those are the three things we as individuals can do about it. And that's what I loved about this, is because this was something I could do. I couldn't feed the whales, actually feed them. I could send money to do that. I can't save all the elephants personally in my backyard. I might like to. I can't do a lot of things, but this thing I can control. This thing is right in my backyard or in containers. But, new diseases and climate change challenges are basically a lot out of my control as well. So what I loved about this, it's an ecologically solvable problem each one of us can do in our own backyard. And we just, by integrating plants, shrubs, and trees that are native to our region, it's that easy. It's like you're already growing something, so grow the right thing, learning about the right thing. About 9 times out of 10, the people I talk to they give them that, they say, what do I plant, where do I get it, and how do I do this? And it's not because the people are bad, it's because they didn't know. So, what I found out after they're saving all the pollinators and the birds and the monarch butterfly, that it's the gift that keeps on giving. They're low maintenance. They need less mowing, which reduces air pollution if you're replacing some of your lawn with the native plants. It saves money. They're perennials, so they come back every year. They need no herbicides or pesticides because they're Michigan native plants and trees and shrubs. They don't need it. They were made for this region. They have these deep roots, which is what's happening below the ground is actually almost more important than as important as what's happening above the ground. Their roots, they help filter out pollutants. They decrease soil compaction and erosion. Because of these deep roots, they need less water. They're drought resistant. And they soak up 90% more water than turf grass. And if you think about that, 90% more. That's astonishing. And they also increase carbon sequestration, which is the carbon sequestration is native plants retain carbon rather than expelling it into the air because of their long roots, as compared to turf grass with little short, tiny roots. I was disappointed that they don't wash my dishes, but maybe they'll be working on that next. So here is a chart that really got my attention, is that the roots on the left side are your non-native or invasive species. And you can see how short those are. And in that over right next to the line in the center, right on the left, is your little teeny blue, turf grass. But next to it, these beautiful long roots are from your native plants. And this one over on the far right is 15 feet long, and it's a common 9-bark. And then next to that is your black-eyed Susan, which has around 6 feet. And your prairie drop seed and is about 6 feet as well. And then your buffalo grass. So that's why they don't need very much of anything. So the unnatural life cycle of a yard looks like this. And I'm sorry to say it is turf grass that's a culprit because we have so much of it. But we're here to talk about the ecological criteria like restoring soil, protecting watersheds, and of course supporting the food webs when choosing garden plants. So, let's see. The wildlife today has to survive in a matrix of human-dominated land that is your suburban backyard. So the forests that we know about, and the state forests and the parks, they can't save these insects because there's too much space in between them, and there's not enough of them. So it's up to us. And plants and animals evolved over millions of years to survive in cooperation with one another. So replacing these natives with foreign exotics, such as the bad guy, turf grass, or invasive vines can disrupt that ecological delicate balance, or has disrupted it. So what I'm doing when I'm talking to people, I'm asking them to change their perceptions of what a lawn is now and what a lawn or your yard or your garden could be. We're asking people to take a look at plants that are called weeds: butterfly weed, swamp milkweed, Joe Pye weed, sneezeweed, and we're saying look at them in a different way. It's very creative. Just look at them a different way. Put them in your garden and landscape, and they won't look like a weed anymore because they're actually some very beautiful plants. So here's a statistic. 2 inches of downpour is more than 54,000 gallons of water per acre. 2 inches. And an oak forest will soak it up, but in a lawn it will cause flooding. And that's why a lot of us are getting these spongy lawns, these flooded basements, all the problems that happen when the water is rolling off your yards. So the natural life cycle of a yard is you plant Michigan native plants, shrubs, and trees. I know you got that one. Native plants add beauty, habitat, food, and cover. They feed our local insects and pollinators and birds, and they feed them all year round, spring, summer, spring and summer. And the seed heads feed the birds in the winter if you leave them. They keep our ecosystem healthy. They filter the water. It's part of our Michigan heritage, and they're feeding us. But there is a happy medium. The one on the left is probably less of a happy medium, and the one on the right maybe more, depending on how you see it. The one on the right happens to be a rain garden. It's next to near a downspout, and that's what rain gardens are for, to soak up the stormwater before it gets into the drains and down, running into our rivers and streams. And the number one pollutant is stormwater. And 45% of Michiganders depend on groundwater for their water. So it'd be good to keep it clean as possible. So an alternative to that is you can consider adding clover, which is now going mainstream. This is it. Scott's is now noticing that people are changing their perceptions already. And so clover is a nice alternative. But that's number 3. We'll go up the line. Number 2, there are other native alternatives such as Southfield, Nimblewell, and violets. And Michigan Wildflower Farm, you can find them online, has bee turf mix. And number 1, as we said, replace as much as you're comfortable with. In the areas that you aren't replacing with lawn, you put in native plants. I don't know if I said that right. You need to replace as much lawn as you can and are comfortable with. And then number 2 and 3, if you're going to keep that, obviously you're going to keep some lawn. Well, I'm not the only one that's saying this is cool. This is from Forbes magazine. It was just last month this came out. And the aesthetic is trending now, this new aesthetic of more of a less beautiful, a perfect lawn. I don't say beautiful, but perfect lawn. With turf grass that looks like a golf course. The old style Tudor, which is the old style Tudor English lawns that were the mantra for the past 100 years. This is Highline Bridge in New York City. It's a very popular walkway and park, and they never knew it was going to be this popular, but it was planted with all native plants. And the designer was Piet Oldulf, who also designed the Belle Isle Conservancy garden as well. So if you go down there, you can see his work. Washington Post the next week put this out, exactly what I'm talking about, the rise and beauty of the native plant. In an era of climate change, homeowners and landscapers are learning what ecologists have known for decades. It's time to shed the mighty American lawn in favor of native plants and perennials. So here's another article. Wisconsin, there's a town in Wisconsin that had a no mow May. And that means don't mow your grass in May and let the dandelions come up. I know Valerie's like,
native weeds.
Those native weeds, just let them, non-native, right?
There could be native.
There could be. And then Ann Arbor, good old Ann Arbor, is trying a no mow May as well. Thank you for watching part 1 of our 3-part series. I hope you found it informative. And if you'd like to learn more, buzz on over to rochesterpollinators.org.